Welcome to the Campaign 1 Q&A, where we bring all your questions, answers. Maybe not necessarily the answers you wanted, maybe not necessarily a full answer, but we're going to answer all the questions that were submitted. And if anybody else has any questions, if I'm joined, to be clear, because it's been a wonky day, by Devan, aka
Hello.
Atlas, and Shain, aka Kristoff.
Kristoff dies tonight!
So there's a lot of stuff out there that you listeners decided you wanted to know. A lot of it is about the lore or the campaign itself, but there's also a lot of questions for the players, for Rowan, for Atlas, for Kristoff. So unfortunately, Alex is not with us today, and Ray and Star, it's real late when we're recording, not with us either, because it's real late. It was real early, actually, real early. So guys, unless you have anything, I'm just gonna kick it off and get us rolling.
No, you do you.
Let's get some questions, baby. So wait, hey, DeWayne.
Yeah.
One thing that I thought might be, do you want Devan or me to read the questions since you had to answer a lot of them?
Yeah, that's
and you just want to, you'll talk half as much.
Yeah, I'm into that.
Let's bounce them.
Okay. Do you? Yeah. We'll rotate.
Yeah. If you want to pull up I will stall for more time. If you guys want to pull up the questions document, the QA questions for DTG, I will also add the ones that were added via the form, the last minute entry. So we'll add those as well. So essentially, the idea behind this is going to be the capstone to campaign 1. I will answer all questions. Questions that I think that will necessarily be answered in either the story or some of the other stuff I'm doing. I will give like a kind of spoiler situation. So just be mindful. If you hear me say this is going to be a spoiler to some upcoming comment or content, just be aware. If you don't like spoilers like me, you're going to bounce. Or you're going to like skip forward 20, 30 seconds. If you're like Devan, you're going to be half ready for this.
What does that mean?
You'll learn when you're older.
I'm just going to spoil everything. Everyone dies in a plane crash.
You actually will. Damn it, you got it. I'll go first. How about that?
Yeah.
Our first question comes from longtime fan of the show, dear member of our community, and longtime patron as well, D&D and Doodles, who asked, did Aiko survive?
So
for those who don't remember...
Yeah, go ahead. No.
Aiko was the character that was played by Doodles when he did his patron guest episode with us. He was a goblin man, a ranger, and he was on the same ship that Captain Rumwick Tyndall once captained, that the crew was destroyed by the Dark Will of Edis that we thought maybe was Atlas, and we weren't really sure on that. So did he survive that encounter, DeWayne?
So sorry, Doodles. No, he didn't. Everybody on the ship died, and that was their fate right up until the boys changed it. And when they did that, unfortunately, only Tyndall survived.
There you have it. You can sleep easy.
Well,
yeah, now, at least you know.
Knowing's half the battle.
Yeah, now you know.
The next question is... Actually, this is from me. This comes from a long-time listener.
From our handsomest boy.
What happened to the other figures that were mentioned as working with the wood elf? When we did our mid-season kind of intro, you mentioned there was like a Leonin figure. I think you called him a Null. What did you call it? No, yes, you had a few different figures that showed up there. Where were those characters kind of floating around at?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Something that didn't actually get addressed as we were marching through Silence and just the choices the crew made. Essentially, they were generals that Sybil had created / corrupted. And after the tear was resolved and the doors were all but shut, they were dispatched, essentially. So they were killed or they were imprisoned. And there was an Arcane 1 Tiefling, there was a corrupted Treekin, and then there was a large Nolly. and then corrupted Yarg was the last of the 4 generals.
Yeesh.
Oh, my turn, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Then I will ask the most important question on the entire list. Is Teresa's tome of tasty treats canon? And if so, does she sell it? And if so, is it profitable? Coming from big-time fan and patron Daddy Harem Bear.
So Teresa's tome is canon, but it's not something she sells. It's a recipe book that was handed down to her from her mom, and to her mom from her mom, and she has, like both of her mothers, added to it, and she was planning to give it to Atlas's wife.
Oh. Huh. How'd that work out?
Not great.
Fair enough.
Turns out, he's a god.
Gay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that too. So I'll ask the next question, because I refuse to answer it. It's from Shain plus star. How come Tifa is feral?
How come Tifa's feral? I hate to answer a question with a question, so I won't. I'll tell you that there's only one person in the world that can answer that question, and the only way that you can get that is by going to twitter.com and tweeting at 20SA podcast and asking them in those exact words, how come Tifa's feral? And if 100 people do that, they have sworn to reveal the answer finally, so that we can all sleep in peace.
Then I'll jump on the right on the next one. It's from Daddy Harem Bear, however you say that. Harem Bear. How many times did each player change their class or classes? That's it.
So I guess that's 2 parts to that question, and I know the second part. The second part of that question is how many times did they change them after the fact, right? So Kristoff actually did a restructure of his class. And if you want to elaborate why you did that.
I'm actually going to touch on it more in a question that comes later, because it's kind of a little bit more pertinent. Yeah, but I did one switcheroo. And
then Atlas as well did a shift in class later because it narratively made sense based on the way the story went, and I think he can talk about that more.
So I had, and remind me the name of it. It's Blood Hunter. Yeah, Blood Hunter.
Blood Hunter.
And so
he was really committed to it.
So kind of the way it took is like to be cursed and to have this power. But the reason why I did it was like, okay, if I'm going to be out hunting these things, it kind of makes sense. Like he kind of has this instinctual ability to find the demons or these fiends, however you choose to perceive them. And so when that was kind of with Ilaria, and that thing kind of seemed to like come around, and it was just hard to hang on to that narratively as the story progressed. I didn't want to be having to keep being anchored to that story from campaign 1. And so I talked to DeWayne about it, and it was kind of like, well, if we take this road, we're going to have to be, this is the thing with Ilaria, there's this darkness that's in there, and that's going to be something you have to figure out when we get there. And so it was kind of a surprise for me too when we got to where Ilaria was there. It's like, you're giving this up. She's gone. Like, we're not playing around. And so that was a surprise in game. I believe that was on the spot. Like for me, not knowing the decision.
I did. It was for
and
me
so
too.
I was like, I didn't know if I was actually, I thought I was going to get the best of both worlds, but that was not the case. It was a big decision to make. And so I ended up swapping over and taking on some fighter aspects.
Yep.
And then I think Rowan changed once as well. I think he shifted a bard college, if I recall correctly.
Oh yeah. I didn't even.
He went from college.
Yeah. To me, subclass change. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yep. Yeah, and I think the first part is to that question is, was it always a sorcerer? Like when you had your character in your mind, or was it always barber, or did you guys like go through a bunch of different choices?
I was planning a hybrid class from the beginning that just didn't pan out because I had a misunderstanding of a core concept of my build.
And mine was just fear of spellcasters, and barbarians seemed to be the easiest to kind of latch onto.
That makes sense.
The next question comes to us from somebody named Rachel Tyler.
Never heard of her.
Rachel J. Todd. Never heard of her either. Dragon Bait! Who says, was there, and this is directly to DeWayne, surely, was there something you wanted to happen but didn't because of player choices?
I mean, like, there's a lot of like potential options that could have happened. And I don't know that it's like we could be here all day if I went through that, but one that like really sticks out to me is there's a moment in campaign 2 where the crew is departing to head towards Prima Tacit, and they've been on this march for like a month, and the armies of Yuri, but essentially they're offered like a small battalion to take with them, and Kristoff was like, nope, we're not taking soldiers at all, we're gonna go super stealth. And I'd actually planned for them to take like a group of soldiers, and like they could take archers, casters, whatever they wanted, and I was going to feed that into Atlas's Battleborn background and backstory, as well as like allow them to build some NPCs and kind of like build a little bit more love into their world and get some more emotional attachments. And this just didn't happen.
I fucked it up.
Yeah, and so it's a missed opportunity. It's fine. I love the way the story turned out. That was one of the ones that I was like, oh man, we had a lot of potential there.
Cool. Next one is, and I think this probably both of you answering this one. Is Lady Shindo canonically a jerk, or is that because of something or someone displayed themselves in the Visage? I think they're referring to the flashbacks that Kristoff saw of her influence. Did they influence Kristoff the best way possible? So I guess the way that you viewed her, or maybe like we were given that you viewed her.
So why don't you answer first, Shain?
So I will say that canonically, Lady Shindo was a negative impact in Kristoff's life as a young man, who very clearly detested him for the way that he was born, and considered him a blight and a stain on the family. Now, whether in the torrent that was a manifestation of his mentality or an outside force, I do not know.
So, from my perspective, Kristoff will always see his mother as a jerk. That's just the reality that he lived with. The truth is, she actually distanced herself from him because she, like King Altrian, knew what his fate would be. While she loved him as one of her own children, she couldn't really make peace with the death of both of her boys, and she had already loved Pallas for so long, and until Kristoff was born, it wasn't wholly apparent that the Shadow of Goarhn's prophecies were even real, and then they were like tangible things until Kristoff was born with the scales, because nobody believed it. It had been so long since those scales had surfaced. So for him to be born with scales, it was kind of like the death marker for Pallas.
Cool. I'm gonna go ahead and read the next one because it's oriented toward you two again. Crap, hold on, I got out of line here. I have a question for Kristoff.
No, if the boys could...
Oh yeah, if they could choose... I skipped over when I was scrolling down. If the boys could have chosen a different artifact from the Cave of Choices, would a different god have played heavily into the story like Wynn did?
Yeah, absolutely. Wynn's involvement was a little more different, but so the Cortex of the Creators was tied to Aya, and the Hammer was tied to Sinlor. So while those two gods would have had less direct influence and would have done more nudging through like avatars or influential people, Wayne just happened to be the most hands-on, hands-off god.
It's a question for me.
Yeah. So Shift from Discord, he asked. So Shift is a real cool guy, and he had this question, which I actually am pretty excited. So he said, "Did you plan the rogue dip for Mastermind from the beginning, or did it just kind of work out that way?"
Yeah, absolutely. So this is kind of where I said I would expand on my level choices later is this question. So I had a very specific build in mind for when I had Kristoff. He had to start off level 1 sorcerer. That was a non-starter, had to because of his backstory and the whole Silver Serpent of Silent aspect. Like he had to have those silver scales. It had to be his heritage. Also, always on mage armor is fantastic, and so is the extra +1 to HP whenever you take a level is awesome. But he was always meant to be a sorcerer. So a pretty common class that you can look up and see guides on that I actually played in a charity one-shot for the Nerd Asylum is a Sorcerer Paladin combination, just because of the way that spell slots work with Smite and the way that it kind of scales, and it has a really good synergy. And they're both charisma-based, so that was always my plan, but I didn't have much in terms of action economy when it came to my bonus actions specifically. I didn't want to invest in a feat to get something like Polearm Mastery or like the Shield Bash feature, the Shield Master feature. So I thought, well, what's the most effective way that I can incorporate a bonus action? And that is the best bonus action in D&D 5e, the Mastermind being able to give the assist action as a bonus action from 30 feet away is phenomenal. And so I said, that's what I'll do is I'll rush 3 levels of Rogue after I take my 1 level of Sorcerer. I'll rush 3 levels of Rogue, pick up Sneak Attack, pick up that bonus action help action from 30 feet, and then I'll start doing my Paladin levels, which I did in the show 100%. Where I failed was I had a super wrong understanding of the way that Sword Coast Adventure Guide cantrips worked. So like Booming Blade and Green Flame Blade, I thought that they stacked with extra attack and sneak attack. They do stack with sneak attack, but not extra attack. So the Paladin levels at that point were pretty redundant. I broke my beautiful boy, and I came to DeWayne and I begged him, please, can I just go full sorcerer? And he said yes, and then I never strayed again.
I never walked the path of loneliness ever.
Then I walked the true straight and narrow path of straight sorcerer until the game was over.
Next one. When Kristoff and team were walking to the throne room past the pictures of the Shindo line, including sons and daughters, was Kristoff's picture there, DeWayne?
No. His picture was taken down. Pallas made the decision when he exiled his brother that he had always planned to put Kristoff's painting back up, this time adding scales that the artist had ignored originally. However, he would never get the chance to do that.
Did Justicar spawn to it later?
Yeah, Justicar Spawn would have put up Kristoff's picture. He also would have put up a picture of all the heroes of Oxbane and Asriel in the throne room as kind of like a homage to the events that happened there.
Does Justicar Spawn keep a tiny picture of that Kristoff portrait in his wallet?
I mean, I think Justicar just keeps like pictures of Kristoff everywhere.
Who doesn't?
You know what I mean? Like that's what I want to believe.
Nightstand,
that's what I want to believe.
And that question came to us from Nekova.
Perfect.
Or Nekova. Interesting.
Thank you, Nekova. Feline Nosferatu. This came from Star, and it is who led Axel to the Hammer of Derridin?
So Ryle. Ryle took the visage of Sinlor and convinced Axel he was to be the next Derridin. Ryle planned to later push Axel to slay the heroes of Oxbane and or Carter Svan, both of which were under Sinlor's protection.
Let's see. Next question is: and this comes from DB Dragonbait. Are the biscuits still hard at Oxbane?
Yeah, actually, the recipe of hard biscuits is just a soft biscuit recipe modified by Alyssa Appletree through Volley and Arrow.
You just had time, right? Just that's the ingredients, time. She had the wrong time, though. She's left them out.
Well, I mean, you could also like have the wrong ingredients and make them less soft. But after the dust settles on the events of Silence, she decrees that hard biscuits are the default for the Red Roof Inn of Oxbane, period, the end. Word later spreads, and for almost a week across Goarahn, all the Red Roof Inns sold hard biscuits in Atlas's honor.
And they do that once a week, and it's like the McRib, and it just comes back and people look. The next question is from Pox Toxic, who is definitely not caught up on the show. Does Atlas ever get?
Well, of course he does. The original
bowl?
is from Teresa. I mean, so it's just basically like different types of almost ice cream, but it's topped off. The secret is, and this flavor doesn't match. It's like a whipped butterscotch whipping on top of it, and so that was the secret all along. Whipped butterscotch.
Right. It wasn't whipped cream. It was whipped butterscotch.
And so they never there's whatever you got, and it was never that. Yeah, but it was non-alcoholic. That's the Rainbow Bowl is non-alcoholic, and that was the.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Sometimes you just got whiskey.
Yeah,
this is not at all that, but it's good.
Everybody ordered drinks, and you asked for the Rainbow Bowl.
Bless. DB, I don't know if this has been asked, and we call her DB. It's just who she is to us, Dragonbait. I don't know if this has been asked, but what is something you wish you could have explored more in the story? That was a good question.
So many things. Quick list: the Arcanist, the Stewards, Atlas's biological
and
father
brother
and mother, Rowan's interactions with the Reclaimers. Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant. Brother, not mother. Rowan's interactions with the Reclaimers, Azrael's interactions with Alistar, Ilaria and Atlas's relationship, Findle and Ilaria, Findle and Ilaria's mother Quindolin.
Just a few.
There just wasn't enough time to like go down all those story threads, and I never wanted to force anything. Rip Ilaria.
Rip Ilaria.
So the next question I got. Because
we want to answer.
Can we answer that question?
Oh, you want to answer it? Oh, go ahead. Yeah, please.
One thing that I wish that I could have explored more on the show were the entrails of every Reclaimer. That is like my greatest regret, is that that Kristoff never got to murder each and every Reclaimer and take everything they've ever built and deconstruct it brick by fucking brick.
Yeah, he's really taking that ass whooping hard. You know, he like saves the world and he goes, "Do you know what I regret? I never got to kick her ass."
All of them.
The thing I think I want to know the most about is Aya, because she's kind of like at the end, as Bellamere is asking, where she's been. He's like, well, after you died and they plotted against you, she disappeared, but she's still playing a role somehow or somewhere, but she's been missing even to the brother gods. And so I would love to have known, and I will ask this question later if we have time, is like, what's up with that? What's up with that?
What's up with that? It's a mystery for the sake of mystery at the end.
D&D Doodles asked the question for the QA for Devan. Oh, never mind. So, yeah. Is it okay to swear if you're in character? No, not for me.
No.
That's easy. Next.
Yeah, duh. I'll take this one. Season 1, episode 1, you said Rowan did performances and also musical performances to earn his way onto the ship. Not in joke. Canonically, what other type of performances did he do? They were blowjobs.
No. Rowan told stories and legends long before he ever came interact with the Lute of Wind.
He played
the man organ, if you will.
Yes, that would be awesome, Rachel.
I think this might be a little late.
Yeah, a little bit.
Star, why did Wynn want Rowan? Why did Wynn want Rowan to kill Pallas specifically?
So Wynn didn't actually want Rowan to kill Pallas. When he learned all too well that Rowan was going to do the opposite of what he asked. He did, however, want Rowan to drag Kristoff to silence to kick off the next big event. The next big stage was in silence, and he knew that Kristoff would never let Rowan embark on such a journey alone.
Yeah. Wynn is a manipulative, gaslighting motherfucker, and
yep. That's why him and Shain have coffee every week.
Yeah. Doodles asks, who are the Ashen Skin Amberite people? I think we all want to know this.
So ironically enough, they came up in Drolicon too. But they're the Forgotten. It's a race of people that were long forgotten by the gods and the world as a whole, and they ended up being infused with power of the torrent, and as such, they are both divine and mortal at the same time. And they have most of them have a chip on their shoulder and a propensity to...
Is it a Dorito?
What the fuck did they want with Teresa?
What?
What the fuck did they want with Teresa?
They
and like the sword, like they wanted Henry to make her a sword?
They wanted Henry to make her a sword.
Okay.
They wanted Henry to make him a sword. So essentially Henry is a legendary blacksmith. And so their plan was to use their divine blood to make an artifact with Henry's ability.
Oh, so
I see. Okay, there
they
it is.
unfortunately didn't know that like 3 of them were behind them.
Their half divine blood with
Yep.
the fucking
The ability
torrential
to-
forging
Yep.
would be okay. That's fair.
these are all my questions. These next 5
hey.
are my questions.
Yeah, I'll read all of them. We're just gonna rapid fire this, Dwayne.
You're right.
Did Ilaria know that Atlas is Belmar incarnate?
Ilaria had no idea. Bellamar was locked deep within, though it's the fact that you had Bellamar as an underlying power was what allowed Atlas to commune so deeply with her, using the cursed sword Baltair as the focus. And
Was
she
Atlas
mentions
always...
Sorry, anyways.
No, please, tell more. I was just...
She mentions that she had never had any other type of interactions with anybody else like Atlas.
So you kind of answered that one. Was Atlas always intended to be Bellamere, or was it the only interaction with the orange red torrent that caused it?
He was always intended to be Bellamere from a story perspective, though transparently I never knew if Devan was gonna like go for
Well, and then what I like to kind of think about that is almost like Atlas would not have survived that torrent blast if it had not been. And I think it was almost kind of like the awakening of that.
Yep. Yeah, that was like what kept him alive, right? Like the brink, the seal.
What are the different colors of the torrent and their properties? Do they matter?
So they do. I mean, man, honestly, all right. Real quick, the torrent is the life of the life force of Goarahn. It's the very essence of magic, and as such, it carries many different forms. But while their colors and properties may change, they all link back to one raw fountain of magic and essence of being. Essentially, the following colors: red, blue, black, lavender, white, silver, gray, green, and gold. It's just a shit ton of text that goes over all of these. The important ones, realistically, in my opinion, are blue is the pure form.
Good shit.
Yep. Red is when the torrent is tainted by rage.
Tainted.
Yep. White is basically the other side, the other state after you pass, because everybody passes into the torrent when they go to the white portion, a la Kristoff's moment in his vision.
Finale.
Yep. And then silver is the exclusive use of androns, and
It's also the tastiest.
It's also the tastiest, and there's very, very, very few mages who know how to use it, but every time they do, they risk andron detecting that, and he does not.
Hey! Hey, you got an extension cord running into my house?
I'll copy the longer description into the Patreon. So if you're not a patron, I apologize, but I would just be reading a giant wall of text.
Okay, and why did the gods kill off Bellamere?
So they didn't kill him. That was against the rules. The 5 of them were bonded by their creator or creation, though none of them would ever learn who created them or why, or if they had always just been. The reality led them to the idea that they would need to imprison Bellamere inside a powerful relic. So Ryle, Sinlor, and Wynn set up a trap for Bellamere. Bellamere trusted his family, even though he knew he shouldn't. The 3 trapped Bellamere in Willow. Though Wynn had little to do with it, he was an accomplice. So he stole Willow away shortly thereafter, hiding it from everyone else, until one day, knowing Bellamere would need to return to Goarahn for his interest, for providing a fun story. It was the only way he saw the story progressing in a meaningful way.
When? Do we get a sneak peek of the new campaign?
That's a question for me, and this is what I was planning on doing from the get-go when I saw this question. I'm going to allow everyone, starting with Devan, then DeWayne, and then me, to describe their experiences thus far in Campaign 2 in one word. Devan?
I wish I had prepped this. This was prepped. Difficult?
Yeah. Nope. Okay, DeWayne?
Stupendous.
Okay. And my word is exhausting.
Oh, dang it.
Fucking hate you.
Next question. I hate this.
I'm gonna send you fucking
$10.
chloroform. So you
Send you. Hey, if you can put if you can put the Joker's laugh in there too.
No, you don't need to. You just heard it. It's good. Locked in.
Dragonbait says, "Is Fendel an arcane one?"
He's not. He has a long lifespan thanks to the.
How did Teresa get back from silence? That's a good question. She was at the
Why was she there?
Sunburnt Penguin, and that's the last we saw her.
Mm-hmm. Well, kind of. Oh yeah. How did she get back? So she would end up running to Carter's Spawn a few weeks after the Terror was closed. Spawn would then send word for Henry, who would then take her home. And why was she there? Teresa was taken in the night by a corrupted Yarg. He left only the royal symbol of the Shindo family on her stove. Henry would later sign up with Carter's Spawn, keeping to himself this burden.
Good man. Was Atlas and Bellamere actually two different people that shared a body? And when Atlas somehow died, he took over.
So I'll give my perspective and you give Atlas's perspective. So to me, think of Atlas as an alter ego. Bellamere is the god of love and war. He is, as a whole, balanced, fair, and kind. When he was sealed away, the war side of his personality was muted or suppressed. While Atlas loved to fight and went on to become a powerful warrior, he was always very pure of heart. And his raging abilities came from his innate divine powers, which would later become corrupted and began a descent into madness.
On a not as cool side of it, I think about that very much as how love and war. I thought it was interesting that you had put those together because obviously, in Greek mythology, you have the god of love, and the god of war, and they're very different. They're seen like a lot of lore to be. They just don't entertain one another, but these balance one another, and often I think in our own lives can be confused. Like love is war. That's how people say love is war.
I think it's a very thin line, which is why I wanted Bellamere to be that same piece, right? It's very easy to go from hate to love.
And so I thought it was a cool dynamic to have. And part of me thinks the mortal part that was Atlas, like you said, there's part of it that was muted. And so we see Atlas as very much love. Even when in his darkest, a lot of times, he's still a very loving individual. Wrestles with, the bad things he has done. So that when he becomes the god Bellamere, that immortal side of him that can see everything from beginning of time to where any time is going,
view, yeah.
Suddenly the relationships he had like as Atlas, while they were important, now things are much more are much bigger. So yes, there's part of him that still knows, like Kristoff and Rowan and Ezreal, they're important figures, but there's all of this from all of time he's got to look at too. So from Shimwell, does Tyndall ever get his boat?
Yeah, so he does. And so spoilers coming. Warning: he's going to come up in chasing Kristoff. But to further that, Captain Tyndall goes on to claim a mighty ship from the Silentium Kingdom at Carter Spawn's request. At the time, he was still a bit of a lush. And then when he learns of Atlas, Rowan, and Kristoff, that they all essentially sacrificed their lives from his perspective, he felt another wave of survivor's guilt. This time, he was determined to turn things around, and as such, he took on a ship, a crew, and set sail for Eos, and then they would then begin hunting fiends and dispatching the remaining ones from the coastline, and he vowed never to leave anyone behind ever again.
And then how the F is Arya alive? Same question about Shinwa.
Yeah, how the fuck is Ilaria alive?
Yeah, okay, cool. So Ilaria was actually never destroyed. She was simply banished from the sword. And so, like I said, when people in Goarahn die, they go into the torrent, and you either get fucked up real bad and get corrupted, or you get summoned back, or you move on to the next phase. When she was ripped from the world, she was thrown into the torrent once more. Her soul was still like cluttered with strife, and unable to find rest, she comes upon the resting place of Aya, and learns that Goarahn was never alone and was never meant to be a single existing world. She learned that Aya had always planned to open the doors to Goarahn to connect it and its peoples with other worlds. As such, she was able to use a gift from Aya to travel to other worlds, where she would meet the Grand Magus, who made it his business to travel between worlds and timelines. His goal has always been to save people and learn new magic. So Ilaria and he meet, and as he stumbles through the portal he had just constructed in his home world, she talks about magic and the torrent, and his interests are piqued. The two go back into the portal together on their own adventure, looking for Goarahn.
Very nice, I like. These look like they're maybe from all the same person. I don't know who copy and pasted them, but you can.
These are all from. Yeah, so I posted these, and I'll let you guys have on these. These are all from Doodles, and they're like questions for Rowan and Kristoff and Atlas. I'll
answer all the Rowan and Kristoff, obviously.
Yeah, you're basically the same person, anyways. And then I'll pick up the general ones. So let me ask to Kristoff, Rowan. Who was he? Where did he come from? Who were his parents?
Please, one at a time.
Okay, who was he?
He was a man who was doing his best to tell a story and live a life worth living.
And where did he come from?
He came from his mother's vagina.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Who were his parents?
He came from Old Elfington. His parents were a fisherman and a dancer who used to be a thief, but she gave up their life and began dancing. He was a fisherman. He met her. He became entranced with her dance, and then he took off his pants.
Just by chance it happens. That's weird.
Yeah, we get it.
Who is his girlfriend and what happened to her?
It's a hard question to answer. You're referring to
Rosalind?
the later Rosalind. So Rosalind was a woman that Rowan met when he was younger, when he had actually just fled from his family, who he left out of a sense of duty for them not having enough means. He then was an urchin for some time, and he was a thief. And then moving on from that life, he became a bard, and he learned music, and he met Rosalind, who he had a amorous relationship with, who he never loved. And when he realized that he didn't love her and could give her the life that she deserved to lead with someone who truly loved her the way that she loved him, he paid his debt, so to speak, by leaving her a stack of gold coins and vanished into the night. She was later cloned. That clone was brainwashed and became one of the lead reclaimers. The look on DeWayne's face as he just realizes all the shit that I don't know the last part. DeWayne?
So Rosalind ends up finding refuge with the reclaimers. More of a nowhere else to go, and by sheer happenstance. And it's one of their creeds to kind of like wipe slates clean, because emotions tend to get in ways when reclaiming things, as Rosalind will soon learn.
And then it's where did Rowan go? That's a question for DeWayne.
What happened to his accent?
No, where did he go?
Oh, where did he go? Oh, okay.
Where did you go?
Yeah. So I will answer that partially, mainly because that's going to come up a lot in chasing Kristoff. One of the things Rowan does is he goes to scour the city for Teresa, and Rowan ends up getting into a scuffle with the very reclaimer that Rosalind had a conversation, or that replaced Rosalind. So then that reclaimer basically puts hands on Rowan, and it doesn't go well. So Kristoff will eventually then later in his life begin to hunt for his friend. If you want to know more about that and you're really dying for it, just DM me. But I plan on covering that in the short story series. What happened to his accent, Shain?
Accents are really fucking hard to do over the course of years, especially when you're drinking.
Yep. Atlas.
Sorry.
Who were his real parents and what happened to them? Oh, fuck. That's
you.
You get to pick. You get to pick. You get to pick.
You get to decide what happened.
You get to decide. Because really the father-son story is important, but you can have the... Because we know his father dies, period. We see that in an episode, in a bonus clip.
Yeah.
So who are his real parents and what happened to them?
Real parents.
I think because based on what we did see with like the mid campaign, or seasons 1 and 2, where we see there's a scene where the brother is talking to the dad, and the dad relays that he has a brother, that the brother has a brother, and so then, but we didn't go beyond that. I want to say that they're probably not far off in age, 1 or 2 years. And the mother died, and there was a famine that was kind of sweeping through that area. And so it was, hey, leave this child here and I hope that somebody finds it, even though it's an orc and the people here hate orcs, or it die, of starvation. And so he was maybe just trying to do what was best, being a dad with a child that it was already, having to feed it. And so he left him, and then he didn't say anything because his guilt ate him so much.
That's real good. I like that. So I'm going to read this question. What happened to him, I presume Atlas, while he didn't remember what happened? I'm
guessing it's the ship thing, right? I'm guessing that because like in the 2-year break, there was a whole thing on the ship
what
with
happened
Edis.
to him? I'm guessing what happened to Atlas while you didn't remember it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my brain's broken on that one. So I will say the first piece before the timeline is altered, Atlas actually murders everybody on the ship because he basically makes a deal. He the way things shook out, he thought Tyndall was responsible, and he, clouded by vengeance, he does that. When the timeline changes, Atlas, for most people, they would have been driven straight into madness. Your whole world rewriting like that, regardless of whether you're conscious of it or not, like the level of deja vu and shit that goes with that, or at least that's how I imagine that. But the fact that Belamir's blood coursed in his veins, it just suppressed it. So instead of him going wild, he just was able to just keep it at bay. So the most important question: why didn't he ever use shovels as a weapon?
Well, he didn't specifically. I mean, I think there was one time we right before I get the get blasted by the red torrent. I do because my weapon gets shattered.
You shatter Willow. Yeah.
Right.
And then in episode 8, one of my favorites.
It's easy to forget because I was a dragon.
Kristoff uses on it, and actually, it's a very effective weapon.
Yeah, it is a very effective weapon. Yeah, and we talk about that, like, canonically, we make fun of his shovels, but canonically, they're real well made.
Thank you, guys.
They're very good shovels.
What he made
all
the time. Well, we stress that that's basically all you ever made. Yeah. So, like, you had to have been real good at them.
So he got really good at it.
Yeah.
Never made a breastplate, but he made 4,000 shovels.
Yep. So, Kristoff, how far back in the Shindo bloodline would you have to go to get before they were tieflings?
That's kind of a trick question. The Shindo name was adopted by a tiefling woman, and this happened many years ago. But before that, I mean, surely they have a human common ancestor that was, tainted with infernal blood. But that wasn't the Shindo family. The Shindo family was adopted by the Shindo name was adopted by a tiefling family.
Hundreds of years. Hundreds
and hundreds.
It would be over 500 for sure.
Yeah, because Silence is only 500 years old, and the Shindo family existed before Silence.
Yeah.
And
right.
in my head canon, in my head fiction, there is a type of conversational infernal that is different than like true infernal, or like the way that infernal would be written, and it's changed throughout the years. And like in ye old spoken infernal, Shindo just means silence.
Huh. That's cool.
In my head canon.
Yeah, no, that's good. Devan, do you want to
what sort of medicine, they put that in quotes, was Pallas talking about in Kristoff's vision?
I don't fucking know.
It's
It was
cocaine.
alcohol. He was saying, take your medicine, brother.
Uh,
Yeah, it was alcohol.
Yeah.
That's what you had proposed at the time, anyways.
Yeah. It's been a
general
long
questions for DeWayne. What happened to the not orc water people?
The sea elves. Well, I'll just answer both. The sea elves. Eventually, that village would go on to get wiped out during the Arcane Wars. It was just a very prime territory. It was also foolishly built on top of water, so that made it an easy target. And then the underwater elves. They would later get destroyed by the kingdom of by the Shindo family line.
We kind of already answered that one as well.
Yep, we talked about the Forgotten.
Yep, so Creepy Whistle Man, he was one of
Yep.
those, right?
No,
he was the
Whistle-
Gray.
Yeah, he was one of the Gray. And the Gray essentially were people that they're like legends or divinities that were bestowed power by the Pillar Gods or another divinity. And eventually they like get addicted to that. They kind of like become obsessed with it, and they get corrupted. And over time, they just kind of like form this like simple motley appearance, and they just crave power. So when big events of power start to happen, or they can like kind of feel them coming, they flock to those.
Yeah.
So his goal at the time was to find the source of power, and at the time, the primary source of power was the Virgin transformation of Bellemere. And Kristoff was an obstacle.
So we already answered these, and then who is Aya / what is she the goddess of? Like, what's her domain?
So she is the goddess of fate and time, I believe. Let me pull up my notes, because
Like
it's definitely
creation, kind of.
Yeah, she's got a creation vibe. It's definitely fate and time. I'm looking up her exact title, because every one of them it's Sin Lord the Just, Win the Wise, Ryle the
Aya the Broken.
Yeah, Ryle Shain, Aya the Broken, and so she's the goddess of time and creation. Yep.
Okay, where is she now? She's obviously bebopping through the multiverse.
No, actually, if there's a short story that talks about where she is, she is essentially the most powerful of all 5 of the Pillar Gods. She did the creation. She can manipulate time, and seeing that get corrupted, seeing that get fought over, she seals herself away in a tomb in her own like pocket of the torrent that's like hidden away from most people. The god of chance knows about it when Alaria arrives, and there's like a short story that kind of talks about that. So she kind of sealed herself away.
Okay. What happened to all the artifacts? So, like, after everything's said and done, where are all the artifacts at? The main 3.
The main 3.
The Hammer of Darradin, the Cortex of the Creators, and the Loot of Win.
So the Loot of Win specifically is in the hands of the Reclaimer, where they are. The hammer itself would go on to be lost by Axel, essentially. And then Ryle will pick that back up, and he will end up giving that to another Shump, essentially, to then do his bidding. And the Cortex...
different realm.
The Cortex is going to end up being so it's going to end up being the primary objective for chasing Kristoff. I guess spoilers coming. They need that per Fendel. They need the Cortex to cast the spell to bring...
Kristoff back.
So they will be doing some adventuring to try and
freaking right on.
And we can presume because Christoph did come back, they do get it.
What's up?
And we can presume because Christoph does come back that they do get it.
Yes, they do collect it.
Now that Atlas has all this free time, what does he do as a god? New daily routine?
He often looks over Oxbane. He's fond of Oxbane specifically. He does check it in on a lot of those characters who were there. He kind of has favor over them specifically. But otherwise, he's just on the rest of the world. He's kind of evening out the races, putting love in some places, and where people are, expanding too much, he's placing a little bit of war in there as well.
Population control in general. Okay. Hey, this is just, I don't know if we talked about this because it's all blurred, but Rowan, why did he leave again? Why did he abandon his friends?
It wasn't by choice. The Reclaimers, the one that took Rosalind's spot as the person to hunt down. So remember, he comes and he takes the loot, right?
Yeah.
And he walks away. And so, unfortunately, because you're not supposed to be emotionally attached, right? That's why Rosalind was having troubles, and that's not even her Reclaimer name. But that's why she was having trouble. And then this other Reclaimer that takes her place has issue with that, like to see one of his partners kind of like corrupted, so to speak. So he goes and grabs Rowan, who has a link to Christoph and Atlas, and his end goal was to get their relics, because he of course knew, especially after the fact that Willow was a relic. So his end goal was to collect the other ones. Did not work out well for him. Yep.
And then a last minute entry from Avon. Can we have like a scientist research type character that gets us all this fun information about the torrent that you dropped earlier about all the different colors in story format?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. The answer to that is yes, because I also have all the 7 core magical principles for Goarahn that I can release in the same format. 100%. There is one more that was just added via the forums. I'll paste it in the chat while I look up one of the other questions in the actual live chat. So at the very bottom, we've added another one. And in that one, Rachel Todd, Dragonbait, basically compares the torrent to the Mako of Final Fantasy VII. That's a very apt comparison. Very apt comparison. And yes, Dragonbait, I will be writing a shit ton of short stories about Goarahn. Now that I'm not DMing it, I have to get that creative juice out somewhere. Patreon short stories is the plan. And the last question, I don't know if you guys can see it in the doc. If you can't, I'll just go ahead and read it. That we have.
How did you come up with the Karen idea? Who are they exactly in the world?
Yeah, so I think they're referencing the Chiron, which is what Avon's modern day character is, where they're basically spellcasters that use ink and drawing, and their whole concept is that in the early days of post Arcane Torrent discovery, the Chiron and I'm doing this from memory. The Keepers, I think that may be their name. They're essentially 2 different types of people, organizations. The Chiron observe the world and capture in images, and the Keepers capture in like diaries or written word format. The Keepers also tend to have like cryptography as a skill set. But so the Chiron are basically artists that take stock of the world, and they can use that ability to summon magic. So.
Nice.
And I will actually give credit where credit is due. The initial piece of that idea actually came from Devan. Whether he remembers it or not, forever ago. Dreams of Jupiter,
yeah.
main character.
Yeah. Gosh, so long ago.
Yep.
Yeah. A couple of years.
Longer for me. He had that idea for a very long time before he sat down and hardcored it out. Yeah. He's actually,
I guess you guys are better friends than me.
No, we're not. But we work together, so we talked a lot very recently. Last few years. Actually, credit where credit is due. When Devan started doing that, and like talking to me about it, he's the reason I started writing again. I like prior to him doing that, I had not written for like a
day.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. Guess you're better friends than me.
Oh, you didn't know that?
Nope.
I hadn't told you that?
10 whole years.
Love you guys.
Love you more.
Here's the big question.
Do you love us?
Do I love you guys? Hell yeah, I do. Hell yeah, I do.
My 3 levels of exhaustion says
I agree.
You may not.
Hey, are those in real life? Because it's so
Only
fucking
2
late?
right now.
Yes, they're both. I don't know. I have disadvantage on all range attacks.
Well, all attacks. Period. I'll tell you what. For the last time, I'm Christoph Schinde.
I'm Atlas Barrier.
And I am your storyteller. Thanks for all the
we
questions.
love you.
Yep.
But I don't know what's gonna happen.
Bye.
I'm sorry. Bye.
Blah.
Christoph is dead.